All right. Good morning, guys. How's it going out there? What's happening? This is my third take, so please excuse me if I sound a little ragged. I'm really looking forward to our conversations today and tomorrow. But we are talking about, for chapters 5 and 6 of Catch in the Rye, dialogue and stream of consciousness. So, first and foremost, what is dialogue? Well, it's probably pretty obvious to you, but maybe we've never really thought about it more deeply. It's a conversation between two or more, scare quotes, characters in a literary work. So we're using those scare quotes because what constitutes a character can be a little bit flexible. And now, why do we use dialogue? Well, first, it creates characterization. In fact, it's one of the main ways that writers characterize their characters. We learn a lot about them not only through the things that they say, but how they say them. It also advances the plot, helps us understand the conflict, and deepens the themes of a piece. So when characters interact and they talk to each other, it gives us insight into the story and also the writer's perspectives on concepts. Now, the way both of those things are accomplished is because, and this should be very obvious to you, make sure you're making this link in your mind, dialogue is closely related to diction, connotation, and tone. Now, we break dialogue up into two different types. First, we have outer dialogue. Outer dialogue is probably the stuff you're thinking about. Okay, it exists between two or more characters and is said out loud. So they're talking to each other with their voices. Okay, their voices are making sounds and they each listen to the sounds that their voices make. It's punctuated with quotation marks and each speaker requires a new paragraph and indentation. So we've got our piece here from Catcher in the Rye between Spencer and Holden. It said, "What did Dr. Thurmer say to you, boy? I understand you had quite a little chat." "Yes, we did. We really did. I was in his office for around 2 hours, I guess." "What did he say to you?" "Oh, well, about life being a game and all, and how you should play it according to the rules. And he was pretty nice about it. I mean, he didn't hit the ceiling or anything. He just kept talking about life being a game and all. Life is a game, boy. Life is a game that one plays according to the rules." "Yes, sir. I know it is. I know it." So in this example right here of your typical outer dialogue, we do see characterization happening as well as a deepening of concepts. So we get this big, deep thematic idea about rules and order and structure. And we also learn from this conversation that Holden can be a little bit of a manipulative little stinker there. Okay, a lot of information communicated through dialogue. But then we have to go to inner dialogue. And sometimes this is also known as an interior monologue. So, though dialogue is a conversation between two or more characters, sometimes we have our inner dialogue. And that's a conversation between the character and themselves, the character and their own mind. Now, sometimes the inner dialogue is said out loud, and sometimes inner dialogue takes place completely in their brain. Remember, we all kind of talk to ourselves sometimes, but just as often as not, we're going to see something happening inside that character's mind. And in fact, sometimes it's punctuated in italics. Like if we look down here, both of these constitute inner dialogue. The first one, punctuated with italics. "I cannot believe I hurt my brother. Will he ever forgive me?" And then in a third person narration, we have it in the typical way, except instead of said, it says wondered. All of this leads us to a really cool technique called stream of consciousness that was developed in the early 20th century. Now, this was a style of writing that is used for Holden Caulfield, but not really completely used. It's more of like the inspiration for the way that Holden narrates his story. Now, in stream of consciousness, the technique of writing tries to capture the flow of the character's actual thought process by incorporating kind of sensory impressions, half-finished ideas, strange syntax, and rough grammar. They're trying to put us right directly into the thoughts of the character. And as we all know from our own messy brains, sometimes our thoughts aren't neat and clear. Sometimes they go all over the place. Sometimes they're unfocused. Sometimes they are randomly drift from place to place. So stream of consciousness is trying to replicate that feeling. It aspires to give readers the impression of being right inside that character's head. So when we have that internal view, ideally we're able to take those little bitty random pieces, those messy pieces, and put them together to shed light on the plot and the character's motivations. Now here's a classic example from William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying. He's one of the original practitioners of the style. And then you'll notice, I'm not even going to bother reading all this to you. If you look over this, please pause this and take a moment to look over it. The sentences just kind of run on. Sometimes there's punctuation, sometimes there's not punctuation, sometimes there's capitalization, and sometimes there's not. Everything kind of moves together like the actual thought process, jumping from place to place. Again, make sure you're pausing this and taking a moment to look at this, because this is meant to represent the inside of a character's mind. Okay, now that we've talked about these things, here's what we need to do. We're going to take today and tomorrow to accomplish the following, okay? Read chapters 5 and 6. Respond to the reading prompts in your blog that are attached to this post, and then respond to one other student's thoughts. And don't be afraid to reach out with questions. The next couple of days are going to be really busy, but I will still be there absolutely to answer any questions that you have. So please do not hesitate to ask them. And with that, have a